Hey there everyone, I am here today. I wanted to show you all how to take a wall-mounted saddle rack and you're going to turn this into a travel saddle rack. This idea actually was engineered by my dad. I had asked him about any ideas for how to do this because we had these wall-mounted saddle racks at our old barn, and at our new barn we were not allowed to put any holes in the walls, so we can't hang these up and we can't put saddle racks out, the folding saddle racks out in the aisleway to hold our saddles while we're getting tacked up. So it's a little bit inconvenient to have to run back and forth to the tack room or put your saddle on the floor, and I couldn't find any solutions that would be cheap and easy other than buying travel saddle racks. So my dad's a genius and this is his idea. I'm just making a video about it. So what you're going to need is you're going to need one of these wall-mounted saddle racks. So just like this. And the rest of the items you can get from like a Tractor Supply, True Value, Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever kind of hardware store that you have, or like a farm store. So this is the main part of our project. This is a fence bracket and it's designed to be screwed into a board here, and then you put a plank for a fence here, but we're going to be using it as a bracket to hold our saddle rack onto the front of a stall or on a fence. So you will need one of these. You're also going to need some nuts and bolts and washers. I have one bolt here that is smaller than my other bolts, and the most important thing with these is to make sure that they'll fit through the bracket hole and also through the holes in your saddle rack. So this one is going to hold my bracket on. You'll need washers for spacers because we need to make sure that the area between here and here is wide enough to easily get on the front of your stall or over your fence post, so we're going to use the washer as spacers. And then I also have these carriage bolts, and these we're going to put through the other holes in our saddle rack. So really how many bolts you need and how many washers and nuts you need will depend on how many holes are in your saddle rack. If you've got one with say 3, you're obviously going to need less. This one has 4 holes total. So these carriage bolts we're going to be putting in the other holes, and we'll be using them to level the saddle rack once we have it in place on our stall door. And with these, I've also put some silicone on top of the carriage bolt so that the metal won't scratch the front of the stall door. You can either put, this is just hot glue, or you can get silicone caulk or rubber caps, felt, whatever you want to put on here if you need to protect whatever you're putting this on. So you will also need some wrenches and ratchet tool to tighten down our bracket. Okay, so let's assemble this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my shorter bolt and I'm going to put a washer on. How many washers you need will depend on how much space you need in between the back of your saddle rack and your bracket. So I'm just going to put this bolt through here, and then I need to put some washers on for space because we're putting this on the front of a pretty thick stall. It's really nice wood, not thin, and I only had like these 4 washers on here before and it wasn't thick enough, so that I'm rebuilding this, so I decided to make a video. But you definitely want to make sure that you leave enough room for your bracket. We'll put another washer on and then our bolt. So I'm just going to hand tighten this for right now. This is the hardest part of this whole project. So I've got about 9 or 10 washers on here for space, because you want to be able to get this over where you're putting it with enough clearance for your leveling bolts. So, alright, so we've got that on there, and hopefully that's enough space. So now I'm just going to take my wrench, and we're just going to tighten this down, hopefully. This part is easier to do with 2 people. So you want to make sure that your bracket is straight. So we just want to make sure that's nice and tight, because we don't want any expensive saddles falling. Okay, so this is where your fence post or your stall door will go, right here. So let's put our other bolts on that will level this up. So with these, you want the silicone part to be out. And I didn't grab enough nuts for this project, but ideally what you want to do is on your carriage bolt, you'll have a nut, a washer, you'll put it onto your saddle rack, grab another washer, and the other nut, and you'll just put that on. And you don't need to take the pliers to these, because what you want to do is when you have this on your stall door or your fence post, you want to be able to turn these to level out your saddle rack. And so I'm just going to do this with my other 2 holes, and then I'll show you a photo of what it looks like when it's done.